afternoon. It's another Friday, 5:30 in the p.m. And of course, this is your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21, the most interactive television show in all of America. And that's because you, the viewers, kind of set the pace for what it is that we do. And so I'm always pleased to be here to give a report about what went on in D.C. Sometimes we're not there, and I know a little bit more about what's going on here in Chicago than I do about D.C. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to Steve Crook, who is one of our loyal viewers, and I understand that he had a stroke. So all of you who believe in praying and touching base with some force that's more powerful than any of us are individually and even collectively, let's give a little shout out and maybe a little prayer for Steve, to him and his family, and hope that they're going to be fine. I'm one of those people who happen to be a believer, and there are those who aren't, and that's quite all right too, because they don't have to worry about going up yonder. They can just be satisfied. When the end comes, that's it. But I still believe that there's an up yonder, and I want to get up there. So talk a little bit to the guy who's up there watching over us and tell him to look after Steve. Well, right now, there's a lot of politics going on in Chicago. There's always a lot of everything going on in Chicago. Chicago happens to be one of the greatest cities in this world. Not only in Chicago, but in the world. It has to do with its origin. John Baptiste Point du Sable, the Haitian guy, black guy, who set up a little trading post and started trading with the Indians and is known as the father of our city. Then we have its evolution and development, a great cultural center. I happen to represent that part of the town that's got every kind of museum, every piece of culture, headquarters for great big major corporations and financial institutions, the futures industry. But we also have something called music. Buddy Guy's legend is downtown. But we got another kind of music, the House of Blues.
Right.
All of that I represent. But it's also headquarters for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And they are involved, which means we are involved at this moment in a bit of controversy. And so we have two people here with us who are going to tell us about it. One is Cynthia Ye, who is a principal percussionist and a member of the negotiating team. Now I'm going to have to just profess a bit of ignorance. I know a little bit about what a percussionist is, but I don't know what a principal percussionist is. So why don't you start and you introduce your partner.
Okay, well, I am Cynthia Ye, and thanks so much for having us on your show. And with me is Steve Lester, one of our bass players in the orchestra and the head of our negotiating team.
One of those great big things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Let me tell you. Yeah, I just love it. But tell us what the problem is.
Well, we're a unionized organization. We have 102 musicians in our group, and we're represented by the Chicago Federation of Musicians. And we've been in contract negotiations for 11 months. And we had a deadline of March 10th, our final deadline. We had two other deadlines that came and went. We decided to keep talking and try to get some sort of agreement, but we didn't. And so this final deadline came March 10th, and we had to go on strike.
So what is it that you're negotiating for and about? What do you want that you feel that you ought to have? And there are those who feel that it's not necessary for you to have that.
Yeah, good point, Magica.
Well, one of the main things that we would like, the main thing that we would like to have is whatever it takes to protect the future of this orchestra, which includes everything from artistically to pensions to wages to the whole package, right? So basically the way our orchestra works is I've been playing music since I was 4 years old, so there's so much weeding process that goes on when you're little, and you get weeded out through schooling, through getting into studios of great teachers, and into taking auditions, and then finally I get my job. I get my dream job in 2007, and I started and then I'm promised all these things, like my wage, my compensations, my pension, and I would like to keep what I was promised, but also going forward, I would like the same thing for those who are going to join us in the future, because this is such a personal thing from member to member, from tradition that has to get passed on, that we need to keep ourselves competitive with our peers. We used to lead the country in terms of compensation, in terms of everything, so we attracted the best talent across the country. And now if we start falling behind, people might just audition elsewhere, or people that are currently in might just go somewhere else.
When you were 4, you were in pretty good shape, right? I mean, you looked forward to getting 5, 6, 7, 10. When you get my age, what do you have to look forward to? Generally, it's retirement.
Yes.
And are you satisfied with what is being provided for retirement?
Well, that's the big issue, because retirement for us is after 40 years in the same job. 40 years in the same job is unheard of nowadays in most places. So we come to the orchestra in our 20s or 30s maybe, and we'll stay our entire life, like I have, and like most of our members. And so it's really important to have that secure retirement, because we don't have the opportunities to do other things and go other places. We make a commitment to Chicago, and we've made that commitment and loved every minute of it. It's a great, great city, and we've loved the tremendous music. Been to Buddy Guy's, Legends, and I've been all over the place in Chicago to hear music, because that's what Chicago is this rich cultural environment. And so trying to keep our pension, it sounds like, wow, you guys just want a pension. Well, yeah, but it also keeps the artistic side of things intact.
Takes a lot of skill, I would imagine, to really be with the Chicago Symphony, which means that you gotta keep practicing, rehearsing. You can't do like we used to do with the rubber and stuff, and strum on it and beat on it, and still be able to come and do what you gotta do. So you don't have time to really run around doing other things. Is that not accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. We got to do as much work at home as we do at the job. So we will play 4 rehearsals a week. That's, and then we'll play 4 concerts. And it doesn't sound like much, but then you got to spend all that time at home to make sure that those rehearsals, you don't sound bad. Because if you sound bad, you're out
You mess up the whole
thing.
orchestra.
Everybody looks at you.
You know, you say, yeah, what's this problem? He must have been drinking something. You got here today.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep, and the people, there's always somebody in charge of everything that
Well,
kind of takes place.
If I can say, that's why she's called principal, because she has a section of.
I'm basically the section leader of the percussion section.
So she has 3 other
okay.
percussionists who have to pay attention to her.
All right.
So I decide, you know, who plays what and getting the instruments ready for it and working with the stage crew so that we're all set up, and it's all part of my job.
Are you a for-profit entity, a not-for-profit entity? What kind of entity structurally are you?
Well, we're not-for-profit, and we've always been not-for-profit. And the way it started, you know, back in the 1880s and 90s, so a long time ago, the city fathers said, you know, Chicago was bustling with all kinds of different people from different backgrounds. And they thought that cultural institutions were a way to bring people together and to promote the city. So the Art Institute and the orchestra they created the orchestra. They found a man named Theodore Thomas who had experience doing other orchestras, and so they brought him to Chicago and said, let's have a great orchestra. So they worked on it, and every generation now for 128 years, it's gotten better and better and better. In the last 50 years, we've enjoyed tremendous success. I mean, we had in 1971, the orchestra went on its first European tour, and there was a ticker tape parade down State Street when they came back on symphony orchestra. Imagine.
So what happens if you don't have a decent pension plan? If individuals cannot look forward to the day when they just can't continue to do what they do?
I don't want to know what could happen because part of our playing is, I mean, we use very, very fine motor skills, right? So to play an instrument well, you know, whether you're a wind player or a percussionist or a violin player or whatever, you don't want to have to stay longer than your body is able to do the job. So if, you know, what they're asking us to do is bear all the risk of our own retirement because they want to give us a defined contribution amount and you invest it however you want, and when you turn whatever age you want, you get to walk away. But what if there is, you know, a lot of volatility and your portfolio is not doing so well and you must hang on? There's nothing scarier physically and psychologically than having to play a concert when you physically know that you can't really do it. Now, I'm in the section of what I call strong and wrong, because I play percussion, I play drums, I play cymbals, I play
Everything.
Yes, and most of the times it's pretty noisy. So if I don't play exactly what I'm supposed to play, everybody knows. Like everybody. So there's nowhere for me to hide. So then if I have to know that I still must play a concert when I can't physically do something, I can't imagine the stress. And then that would kind of bleed into the whole orchestra.
Is there anything that the public can do that may be helpful in the process? We are known as a country of great democracy. No democracy is as pure as we'd like for it to be. But influence, meaning that there are different factors which influence behavior and influence the actions of others. Is there anything that the public could do in any way?
As anybody who knows that's been on a strike, it's a campaign. you have to convince people who have the money strings to come forward and try to find a solution. So what we're asking people to do is to give us support. What does support mean? It can mean anything. It means all those wonderful people who honk their horns when they drive by our picket line at Orchestra Hall, the buses, streets and sanitation, everybody honks their horns. And we really appreciate that. That lifts our heart. It does. So there are many different kinds of support. You can write the symphony offices, and we have here, we have pass out these little cards, which we're happy to give you, Congressman, as well as our little buttons, which highlight addresses that you can write to and express your support for the cultural institution that is part of the fabric of Chicago. We've played not just at Orchestra Hall. We've played in many, probably all the communities of Chicago, in schools, community centers, in CHA, in senior centers. We've played in small groups. We've played down at the Apostolic Church on the south side twice. And prisons, we've been in, we think it's our mission to bring our culture, our music, to anybody who'd like to listen to it. So
I think I would just add one thing, which is what the public can do is ask these people that are our management to give Chicago back their music. Because right now we're on the street doing what we're not supposed to be doing. We should be giving Chicago back our music, which is what we do. We play on stage, we play for the public, we play for the people.
So you're on the picket line. I mean, you're actually out picketing.
Yep.
And now, a group of professional musicians employing the use of the picket protests. That should say something to the rest of society and to the rest of us.
Yeah.
That there must be something to this methodology. It must be designed to do something.
Well, we're trying to bring that message to our board, who frankly can be rather remote. These are people with lots of money, and they don't really see our point of view. And we're trying to bring that message. We have to say that there are many people on our board who are wonderful and do support the orchestra, but they're not maybe in control right now. And you know how a big organization can have different people at the top, and so we're having one of those situations. So the pressure, we've been supported by the congressional delegation, and thank you, Congressman Davis, so much for showing up the other day on our picket line. That was tremendously uplifting for the members.
Well, it was fun for, Illinois does have, if I have to say so myself, a great group of elected members
Absolutely.
of Congress.
Absolutely.
Both the House and the Senate.
Yeah.
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 And I'm being as objective as I can
Well,
possibly be.
and we appreciate it so much. It was a great opportunity to meet them, to meet Bobby Rush, to meet Jan Schakowsky, to meet Chuy Garcia, to meet Raja Krishnamurti.
Krishnamurti, Roger said, just call him Roger.
Raja.
He said if you're having trouble with the rest of it,
Yeah.
just call him
Raja. So, and Robin Kelly, and, it was...
Jan was
Jan.
there. Jan led the effort.
Yeah, she was...
Jan Schakowsky up in Evanston. Yeah.
So it was a really heartwarming event for us, and again, thank you so much, because that support means that our members also know that the communities behind us. Because you represent our community. You represent me. I live in your district.
Oh,
I'm
I know.
south, south on Prairie. So,
South Loop.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
so you're real important to us.
Well, it's a great community, I can tell you that.
But we're trying to bring our costs to the public, and the public is really responding. And to that end, we got to, again, thank you and thank all the people who supported us.
Well, that makes us feel good because Chicago is a great city. And when you talked about individuals having money and kind of sharing it and making use of it,
Right.
I thought about the blues singer. Say, they tell me the best things in life are free, but you can give it to the birds and bees, because I need money. He say, your loving give me such a thrill, but your loving don't pay my bill. Says I need money. Money.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of money in our society. Sometimes too much of it is in one part, not enough in other parts, and we're always trying to figure out ways to distribute it a little more equitably and more evenly. And I think that's what this boils down to. I mean, if you've got access to it, why not use it in such a way that it benefits as much of society as we can possibly make happen? That's kind of the reason I decided to get into public office, to run for public office, because I wanted to help represent as many people as I could, and not just myself and a category that may have been as fortunate as I've been in terms of living in this great country of ours. So I hope that some of our viewers got a message, and of course we'll be back next week, and we have callers who join in regularly. Sometimes some subjects intimidate them a little bit. They don't want to talk about that. They like to talk about politics 101.
Well, it's an active time in politics right now, so.
And this is politics in a way. We try to be as open, which means that all of us, if we didn't call in tonight, we can certainly call in on April the 2nd, because you can make sure you go out and vote. And please do so, because voting is the greatest equalizer that we have in our society. And whoever you vote for, I don't do partisan stuff here, but whoever you vote for, make sure that you're voting for yourself. When people ask me who I'm for, I always say I'm for myself. I'm not voting for a candidate, I'm voting for me. The candidate will be the recipient of my vote, but I really was voting for myself because I thought that person's thoughts and ideas best represented what I think. I'm just not there to be the one. So let me thank you both. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Congressman.
We
Thank
are
you so
delighted that you're here.
Thank you very
And
much.
I learned something I didn't know, what a principal percussionist was, I heard of bosses and all kind of
The head drummer.
descriptions of, yeah, now, easier to understand, but no, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Make sure that you go out on Tuesday, if you don't do it before then, and vote. We want to thank Cable Access, the best show in town. This is Congressman Danny Davis, and I'll see you next week.